What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? I'm Mr. Rad, and welcome to today's video. We're taking a break from RX8 madness in now what is April radness, because the month of March radness was such a success. We're just going to keep the radness going completely. And we're working on one of my favorite cars that I've ever built. Basically my favorite car I have ever built, because I just love first gens. These things are super rad. So this is my 1979 Mazda RX7. It has a Turbo 2 engine swap. It's got a fuel tech. It has an RX8 6-speed. The engine's been moved back a bunch. It's got rack and pinion steering. Like, this is basically a super light version of an FD or a RX8, all in one sweet package. Let's go back in time just a smidge, because I had to get this thing unearthed from its winter hibernation. And let me tell you, that was a journey that I just feel like you guys will enjoy seeing. We're gonna be getting the RX7 out of hibernation. So this car's been in here all winter, because we don't drive cars in the winter that we love, because the winter snow and ice just tears them up. And don't worry, I got my Hawaiian shirt on. It's just under my sweatshirt because it is a little brisk today. So this has been in here since my birthday burnouts, which would have been, shoot, I don't know, January 2nd, I guess, is my birthday. And it's been on a battery charger, or at least a battery smart charger tender thing. So hopefully it starts. This is a single turbo, 13B turbo swap RX7, aka the RX7, because it's super rad. We'll go ahead and take the charger off. I've got to put street wheels on this. It really needs a bath. I haven't washed it in a while, and honestly it hasn't started in a while. I didn't see a huge puddle of oil under it, so it should run. It's not an RX8, so I'm not going to say it starts every time, because RX8 start every time, but this will probably start. It's 50 degrees out. Oh yeah. Oh man. It's a little smoky. A little bit twin disc clutch. Oh yeah. Dang, she looked good. Well, I got the RX7 out, expecting to just drive my perfectly good and running car to my buddy's house to store it for a little bit, and of course, it sat for the winter, and it has since decided to break itself in the fashion of I exploded a coolant line. So hopefully I make it over this hill. I don't want to start it again. Come on, baby. You can do it. You can do it. This is how fast we're going. Not very. Oh, we have a car coming. They're not going to like my LED lights. So I'm coasting this thing to Chuckles' house, and we're going to assess the damage when we get there. Get fired up. Okay, and now it doesn't want to start. That's exciting. Okay, now I have to get out and push, because I've been running, you see, I don't have a big battery in this deal, so whenever you drive it and then you run and you roll with your fans on and then you don't make it where you need to go, the battery runs dead really fast. So we're sitting at 12 volts. I'm gonna let this car pass me really quick, and once this car passes me, I'm gonna get out and push this thing so that I can make it into Chuckles' driveway, which I'm not gonna be able to hold the camera for, so you'll just have to imagine that. The dog's here too. All right, I got myself rolling. There's Chuckles right there, coming down the driveway, but I should be able to pop start it and get it into his driveway at least. Easy peasy. Watch the coolant level climb. Sorry, car, you're gonna get really muddy right here. $160, but I know it's hotter. I made it!
How hot is it?
Oh, it's cold now, but you see, coasting with, well, you know, the coolant temperature gauge doesn't exactly tell you the temperature of an engine whenever there's no water in it, so.
That's true.
Yeah. It's probably warm. I was coasting for so long, and I just bump start it.
Yeah.
And then I was in fourth gear. There's a balance in my head of I probably look funny with my headphones on my head. A balance of speed and like slowing down and going fast. Remember super mileage, right?
Yeah,
We'd slow down so much and accelerate. So I was like feeling out of good speed, then I'd pop start it, and then I'd like romp through fourth gear pretty good. You know, and then kill it. And then I'd be going probably 70 or 80 mile an hour and then coast it out.
Yeah.
But coasting with my fans on and my headlights, when I
the
got to
battery?
the top of that hill and I ran out of speed, it wouldn't start.
Well, I wondered because I was like, okay, like I saw your lights at the top of the hill, and I'm like, okay, good. It's all downhill from there. So
Yeah.
then I ripped down in here and I had the door open and the lights on, and I'm like, where the heck is he? So then I was like, I gotta go find him now.
Yeah.
And that's why I hit the end of the driveway and I saw you just like creeping over the top of the
Well,
hill.
I got out and I can't hold the camera and push my car,
Yeah.
so they didn't get to see this. But I was standing here with the door open, just steering, just walking down the road, pushing my car. I got out before it stopped.
Yeah.
And just pushed it. And I was like, I just have to get to right there.
Yeah.
And then I can pop start it again and make it in here, which is what I did. So here's the deal, guys. I always say we. I include you guys in my suffering here. We, the video, and me, the viewers. My heater core line from the back of the block, right under the oil pedestal, has exploded. And it exploded before when I was on the dyno. This is not the first time this has happened. But this replacement line that I put on here was from one of my parts cars. So it is just an extra line that I had laying around. But it was the best condition one that I did have at the time.
Yeah.
So anyways, I hope that it didn't hurt anything. Obviously, it was still running, so it would be just my luck, though, driving down the Duff Road here. Same road that my oil cooler line exploded and I burnt the motor up, that the coolant line would explode and I would burn the motor up on the same road. So, yeah. I don't really know where this fits in videos, but I'm going to have to come back here and fix my car, even though my plan was to just drive this home,
Wash it.
and then park it pretty much right here. But now it's broken, parked right here. It's coming up a storm today, guys. Some wild clouds up here. Heading over to get the RX7 after it broke, and I had to fix it, and then I got it back, and then it's good, and then I got to pick it up and bring it to the shop. I'll tell you what, it's been an adventure just getting this car back over sitting for the winter. So made it back over here where the RX7 stored after the rainstorm, and you can see the last time I drove this thing, it got filthy muddy. When I got it out, which you guys already saw, we blew the heater core line, which sucks. So I've got another one from another parts car on there. I really need to order like a silicone nice one, so that's gonna come as part of the upgrades for the car in the next couple videos. But let's see if she starts. I usually get a lot of crap for this because the car doesn't just fire right up, and it's kinda, I spend a lot of time dialing the old fuel tech in, and it doesn't really have the best like startup procedures. And I don't have an idle air control valve, so I gotta give it a little gas, but it'll start. I have confidence. It's not gonna start. We lack all confidence because the battery is dead. Now it should start. I think that fan is on high speed. So I just gotta let it catch itself a little bit here and then it'll stay running. There it is. It has been a while since the RX7 has been on the channel. So we'll give you a short rundown of the chassis, the whole deal, and what's going on. So this is the RX7. I think the last time we were doing some top speed hits in this thing last summer. Garrett T04 turbo, shorty big runner manifold. I moved the wastegate. It's a turbo 2 block with a Series 5 rear iron. It's kind of a hodgepodge of engine stuff. My custom tilt the radiator and intercooler package forward, much like, well, the rally car was sitting over there, but much like we did on the rally car. It all comes out as one unit, the whole radiator and intercooler package, so I'm fired up for that. Electric fans, and you can see the steering rack down there. So now that you've seen the top side of the car, let's look under the car, which is where all the magic happens, and which is where we're going to be applying some serious engineering and design in this video. We're going to create something new, or at least something new that you guys will have the potential opportunity to be able to buy to put on your car. So this is where all the magic happens for this car. Up underneath here, we've taken antiquated first generation RX7 and we've brought it up to at least closer to the modern age. So we've got, this is a Re-Speed rack and pinion conversion. We've got nice plywood splitter. Plenty of oil leaks, because it's a rotary. If there's not oil under it, there's not oil in it. Nice stainless downpipe, turbo manifold with some wacky wastegate stuff going on, which looks cool. And then 3-inch exhaust, and the best part of this whole car, in my opinion, is the RX-8 6-speed. So this is a Series 1 6-speed RX-8 box. They're a close ratio 6-speed. And what that does is it really wakes up any of the old RX-7s. So even to your FD RX-7s, the gears are so long in these 5-speeds, right? They've got a 4th gear 1-to-1, first, second, then third, then fourth, and then fifth, and it like bogs down, right? In the 6-speed, 5th gear is actually 1-to-1 in these. So you have, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, then 6th, and you can just row through the gears a lot faster because this transmission was built around, a stock RX-8 only having, well, in my case, 120 horsepower basically, and Buzz has, 200 or so with its old engine, which the new engine's right there, like ready to go in. But I've had some people reach out in the past, and I told them I would make them one, that I needed to remake or design a new and improved, kind of just something I can produce transmission cross member. So one of the goals I've always had is like, I have an engineering brain and I like to create stuff, and it's just like, give me a really hard problem and I like to solve it. Less entertainer, more inspirer, I would say, on YouTube. Like, I try to inspire and get my viewers, you guys, thinking and wanting to try new things and build your car your way, and that you don't necessarily have to follow any specific guideline or budget. Like, you can just make it work, right? Like, that's the whole goal, is like, get you guys out there thinking critically and creating stuff. So we're going to take this off today and we're going to recreate a transmission mount. Not for my car. I'm still going to run, this one, but we're going to use the plasma table. We're going to get out Autodesk Fusion and we're going to design up some plates in order to make this work. And we're going to make it fit around, this is a 3-inch exhaust. So ideally you can still fit your 3-inch exhaust up under your car. So it's just plenty of room for everything. So that's the plan for today's video, because ideally we get this designed nicely and then I can offer it to sale for you guys, which would be cool, on the website. So if you're in Patreon, you'll know that all this stuff's going on, working on getting a website, working on selling parts, working on creating stuff. That's kind of been one of my goals for a long time. So this is step 1. To me, the RX-8 transmission swap is not really the most common because it does have its complications, right? The shifter turret on these is in a weird spot. It kind of really only works on a 79 or an 80 RX-7 because of the shifter hole being like so far forward. There is a little bit of variation in the transmission cross members between just all the first generation cars as well. So it's kind of hard to like specifically dial in, a bracket like this to just bolt this into your car. Plus, on my car, because I'm extra special, I have the engine pushed back a little bit, and that's where the Re-Speed rack and subframe stuff, how it mounts, it kind of allows for that. So I shoved it back as far as I could. Just, moving the center of gravity back. The engine doesn't sit any lower or higher. I think it's kind of in the same spot. And then I just created the same driveline angle as a stock first gen, but with the RX-8 transmission. The best part about these is you get It's counterintuitive. You think you get a 6-speed and you're like, oh, 6th gear, it's extra overdrive. Well, honestly, the 6-speed, 6th gear is actually like shorter than the 5th gear from the 5-speed in this car. So if you're in 6th, you're going to be turning more RPM on the highway than you would with the 5-speed, right? And like that's a common misconception of like 6-speed, more gears, more overdrive. But the best part about these is like they're not super heavy like a T56 or a CD09, etc. They generally hold up to a pretty good amount of power. You know, my car turned up makes just under 350 horsepower. It's 348 wheel horsepower. It weighs 2,000 pounds, so it's not really putting a lot of stress on this box, but this transmission, they just shift super well at a very high RPM. You know, and an added bonus is you can go out and buy one of these transmissions with like a whole car attached for pretty cheap. So I'm stoked, but we got to design this and create some sort of a template, whether I make it out of one piece of, you know, cut this out and one piece of metal on the plasma table and we bend it creatively to get in here, cut out of one piece of thick steel, or we make something that's like this one where it's kind of a hybrid of, you know, tubular stuff and plates that we need. All right, so if I take this piece of paper right here and we're gonna lay this in here, and that's gonna give me the 2 angles that I need to be able to make that happen. Right there, we've got the ability to lay this on here. We've got our 2 bends, approximately. Okay, now we need our holes. Put some little dirt on your hands, you can see I got that marked out. So now what I'm thinking, because we have this sweep in here, so we can kind of just freehand the sweep, honestly, is from the back of that Sharpie's junk. I had a professor in college that when his dry erase marker would run out, he would just wing it across the room and try to make it into the trash can. Most of the time he did. It's actually really cool. So I've embodied that. I throw my markers when they run out. All right, so we've got our holes here marked with my dirty thumbs from taking this apart because we're leaking a little bit of oil on the RX7. It's normal. And we need to connect from that corner right there to somewhere up here. Assuming somebody has their engine in a stock location, it would be slid forward from my spot, which would mean this way. So it's going to slot back. So I'm going to give myself like an 1.5 inches or so behind the transmission bolt holes. I find that round edges typically always look cleaner on parts. Anytime you have like a sharp corner, it just doesn't quite do it for me for the like sexiness of the piece. So that'll go in there. There we go. And let's try the next side. So now I need to tape all this together, lay it flat out on the ground, and then I can draw that in the computer. And then I'll go cut it out of some thin aluminum and we'll see how it looks. So with some custom tapage, this is the completed paper or cardboard. This is like thicker paper model. So we've got our bolts here, got our bolts up here, got our bolts up here. We generally know how far we need to go before the bend. We generally know how much material we're going to have out there. So we're going to take this, I'm going to lay it flat like this, and then I'm going to cut that out of some real thin aluminum, and then we're going to use that as mock-up to make the first piece. And hopefully the aluminum requires probably a little bit of trimming here or there. Maybe the bolt hole's got to move one way or the other. We'll get our distances to our bends right with something that's a little bit more malleable, but yet more firm than paper. Once we have that built, then we'll make it out of some thicker steel and we'll have to bend it in the brake. It's going to be a pain in the butt, but we'll make it work. So jumping right into Autodesk Fusion, this is not my forte. I have a ton of time into Autodesk Civil 3D, which is much like 2D CAD. My whole life has been using command shortcuts, and Fusion is clicking on pictures of what you want this to do. So this was a little bit cumbersome for me, albeit it's pretty intuitive with how I've designed and done all my civil engineering in the past. So I made the simple bracket. I went ahead and ran the G code so that I can run this through the plasma table. You can see it on the screen, run its little yellow line of goodness, and we're ready to cut this thing out. As if it wasn't crazy enough already, listen to the wind. We got like crazy storm coming through this week. Just like the beginning of the video, the weather and working on the RX7 are just, we're pushing it here. We're pushing it. I feel some resistance. Let's get the laptop fired up. I got my cut file on here. We already got our thin metal loaded. Get all this turned on. Hopefully the power stays on long enough that we can cut this out. All right, so we got it pulled up here. We're gonna drive ourselves over to approximately the corner. Zero the axis. We turn on dry run first. We'll hit go, which will make sure that it's not going to drive itself off of the material. So really we're just looking to make sure that it doesn't pass this line here. Oh, it's a big long sweep here. Nailed it. And then this line here should be plenty. Now we got to bend this up. Test fit. Not bad. I think I need to shorten the distance from here by my thumb out here by my finger. This distance right here needs to be a little shorter, because when that flushes up, see how the bolts pushes past a little bit? And honestly the same on this side. So I can probably take a 1/4 inch. Take a 1/4 inch out of the distance between all the bolt holes and then recut this, and we should be dialed for that shape. The progression of RX-8 swap transmission mounts right here. Version 1, paper. Version 2, version 3. And now we have the final version, or I guess we'll say the final version for now is mounted in here. Check this out. So I made this out of 1/4 inch plate. I bent it in my press brake over there. I'm pretty stoked with how this fits. Clears the transmission, no big deal. Mounts here and here. I've allowed a little bit of room so that the whole drivetrain can slide forward. As y'all recall, my engine is slid back about 1 inch, so this should give enough room for this to go back to the stock location. With that being said, this mount is not the final version of this. We're just projecting these parts in this video so that I can get them to be the final version, so then you guys will be able to, you know, purchase this stuff for your car, should we be able to make a whole lot of them and you guys have interest in that. So that is actually going to a buddy of mine who is going to test fit that into his car. He is doing the RX-8 transmission swap with just a normal 13B swapped 1979 or 1980 RX-7. I don't remember what year his is, but it's an SA. In theory, it should bolt right in. If it bolts right in, I don't need any changes, we'll start cutting production pieces out just like that. We'll put together the template for the bins. Easy peasy. If it doesn't, we'll go back to the computer, beep, boop, beep, make some changes, and then we'll make sure that we can get it to fit properly. So he's also going to run, I'm sending along some bushing material to go between the transmission and the mount, and then the mount and the chassis. One of the things that I'm fired up for with my particular mount is that the SA actually has 2 bolt holes in the chassis, and I believe the FB cars do as well. I'd have to crawl under the brown car to check, but your factory transmission crossmember only uses one of those bolt holes, so we're going to be using both of them. So it should be a much stronger setup. In addition to, like, if you do only want to put one of them in there, you could. Typically on a normal factory setup, they have a stud and a rubber bushing underneath there. This is your transmission crossmember stud. So this piece here would thread into the bottom of the car, and then you simply just align the bushing and your bracket and then put the nut on underneath it. Next on the list for part production, things that I've built for my car and been testing, is the splitter bracket. So I learned a bunch actually building this one and then building one for the RX-8 after, with influence from Gears and Gasoline, Ben Thorne over there. And he adapted or wanted the RX-8 one to work with professional awesome adjustable quick release splitter brackets, which I had never heard of those splitter brackets before. I think I had heard of like Racebred Components, a few other companies that make off the shelf, you know, like quick release splitter stuff so you can make your own plywood splitters, right? So I had just built these universal 3.5-inch spacing, nothing crazy, right? But they mount to factory points on the first gen. So these are both your bumper mount here and then the tow hook bolt here, which is kind of nice because they're just a nice factory spot to mount those two. And I want to change this to fit the Professional Awesome stuff. I think I'm going to shorten this up a little bit so that you can bolt on their drop piece, and then from there it should be plenty sturdy, and we'll have to come up with some sort of a way to anchor it at the back. So get excited to see that stuff designed and built. I'm just going to show you mine for now because it's basically going to look just like this, except the part right here where these bolts are going to be up higher so it's easier to reach and service. Most of your stock first gens aren't going to have this big, you know, old school tricked out looking air dam thing on here. This is kind of a unique piece. It's very hard for me to find another one. And most of the time your air dams kind of resemble this, but you'll have to figure something out. Like I don't necessarily have the plans to make a whole new air dam for these cars either. But stuff that I build for myself would be nice to be able to get into your guys' hands if it's something useful, right? And I can make a few of them. So splitter brackets, add that to the list. Let's lower the car. I've got some more stuff to do. Taking a closer look at the RX7's engine bay, a few things might jump out at you or they might not. The big thing is this strut brace. I know Racing Beat just came out with reproduction versions of this strut brace, and they're pretty pricey. And I had in my head years ago planned on making a version of this strut brace because they didn't make them. I literally bought a whole entire car just to take this strut brace off and then sold the car because there's that hard to get with the aluminum pedestals and everything. So drop in the comments below if you guys would be, you know, interested in seeing some sort of competition to the Racing Beat strut brace, you know, because you can get these. They are pricey. I think they're a really good, you know, option for a strut brace for these cars, aside from like a simple bar that just goes strut to strut. But I can make something like that pretty easily. If you guys blow up the comments and you want to see something like that done, you know, it will look something like this because I would just want to throw it back to, this is the iconic Racing Beat RX7 look that I just know and have always loved. The other thing is this battery relocation. When you go turbo, when you want to clean up your engine bay on a first gen, you know, you're going to get rid of the coils over here, you're going to get rid of the front battery, and you might change up your radiator and intercooler setup, right? A lot of people run these smaller batteries now, me included. So I've got a little bracket that puts the battery where the cold start assist was. So taking a closer look, you can see this is a Stinger. It's an AGM battery. It's nothing super fancy, but it is a small package deal. It's actually pretty heavy. So much like a Braille battery or something I would use in the rally car. It does have a good bit of cold cranking amps for this setup, and you know, you can put all sorts of fancy money, crazy, spend tons of dollars on a battery, but I love this location. It's reminiscent of, if you ever worked on a Datsun 240Z, they have the little pop-up thing right here on the cowl, and the battery sits back there. And I just loved that location. My buddy Dan down in Tennessee had one, and it was so rad. I mean, they fit a giant battery back here, but obviously this one's smaller. So instead of packaging your battery over there or putting it in the car, okay, batteries are light enough these days, you're probably not going to use it as ballast. So I want to build a battery bracket that's going to go here. So these Stinger brand batteries come with this box. So I'm going to have to make something that's reminiscent of the box to hold different various size batteries. But I'll need to look and figure out a common battery size. If not, I will for sure have the little brackets that I made for this like Stinger size battery. So a battery relocation kit could easily be on the agenda as well. Like I said, comment below any parts, any things you guys want to see, especially the stuff that I developed on my car. You know, the big thing that I think is going to be rare for other people to want is this kind of cooling setup up here. So everything is mounted onto one piece. You've got this little bracket that goes to the front of the car, mounts to the frame rail. It's the same bracket on both sides. You unbolt 3 bolts on each side, and the whole radiator and intercooler setup lifts out. And you can see up in here, the intercooler in front of, and then the little bit of space down here for the radiator to catch some air. You know, intercooler up there, this pipe's in the way. And my oil cooler is very far forward compared to where it's normally mounted, which is under the radiator. So if that's also something you guys are interested in, that's a little bit more of an involved piece, but it is set up to run a factory RX7 radiator. None of this like crazy custom stuff. OEM replacement. It means when your radiator explodes at the racetrack and your buddy's got a stock RX7 that he drove there to hang out with you, you can pull the radiator out of it and keep going at the racetrack. That's like my whole mentality around cars is like you want to have sustainable and easy to get parts, because if you can't, then your fancy NASCAR radiator you swapped in your RX7, when it blows up in Kansas and you can't fix it, you're stuck there until you get a new custom part that takes 6 to 8 weeks, and now you have a $1,000 tow bill to get home. And like, you know, replaceable parts. That's kind of one of my big sustainability like mindset things. So I could also set this up to run like RX8 oil coolers as well, but I really don't think that's quite as bit of a, I don't know. It's hard because there's a lot of different things you could do, but it's going to be pretty low volume stuff in my opinion, right? So it's like I could probably find some sort of a universal oil cooler, you know, like this one here. This is just like a 38 row, you know, bar plate kind of thing. It's an ugly one, but something like that would be a little bit bigger to run on these and make brackets for it. But the other thing is like, I don't intend, maybe everything blows up and grows, to like stock 20 oil coolers to sell. It would be like, I would be more interested in building the bracketry for it and then selling the bracketry, and then you having to go get the oil cooler yourself. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my thoughts there. But let's change the wastegate springs in this deal, and then we're going to take it for a rip. So, you know, it's going to be a good day when we got out our tile wastegate spring set and our little spring chart, which I've transferred onto this blank sheet of paper. So we're targeting, I would like for it to make around 10 pounds of boost base pressure. I want to change this thing so I can run E85. And on E85, we can turn the boost up well past what we can on pump gas. So we'll be able to turn this thing up to closer to 20. So that 10 PSI, we can double it with the boost controller, should get us closer to 20. So whenever I built this turbo kit, I modified the wastegate placement so it would be easier to service. Instead of having the wastegate down under the car, the wastegate's easily accessible from right here, albeit I do have like a heater line that kind of runs through here, and it's a little tricky to get the Allen wrench on the back couple bolts, but that's still easier than crawling under the car, especially when everything's hot. So let's pop this off and see what spring set we've got in there, and then we'll know how much we need to add. This is an older, it's called a Tile V44 instead of the like newer Tile MVR or MVS series stuff like we have on the FD, but there's no reason to change it if it works. So especially on such a simple setup like this, really just want it to work more so than we want to have, like you can have a water-cooled wastegate and all sorts of fancy stuff when it comes to wastegates. And one thing I've been looking at switching to potentially is going to, it's called dome pressure control. That's something with the Fuel Tech ECU is a lot easier to set up because it's more of a drag race ECU. So I would add a dome pressure sensor in here, and basically it would target the dome pressure with the wastegate with the boost controller. So I could say like, I need 12 pounds of dome pressure, and it's going to automatically do the MAC valve to hit that 12 pounds of dome pressure, which then I know would say make 14 pounds of boost or something. It's usually not perfectly one-to-one, but it's generally pretty close when it comes to the dome pressure and boost pressure relationship. Woo. Got a big spring in there. Popped right out. Nice. Wastegate spring changed. Alright, where are my FC guys at? We got a future video with the drift car REW swap to FC. Comment below if if you're an FC guy. For now, first gen of first gens, guys. That's today's video. Then back to RX8s, then maybe some FD stuff. You never know what you're gonna see around here. Cold start, no gas pedal. Oh, man. Come on. Well, we failed that test. Do a little second gear rib. See how much boost we make in a second. It's going to spin, most likely. Tires are full. Alright, we just made less boost. That was only 5 psi boost. We need more boost control. One of the things that's always irked me about this car is when I put it together, I didn't adjust the brake pedal and the clutch pedal exactly perfect. I left a little too much slop in the pedal, so free play from when you start to push it to then when it contacts the master cylinder to engage the brakes or the clutch. So while the wastegate's cooling off, we're gonna get under the dash and adjust these pedals. All right, guys, so up under here, I should be able to, oh, dang, that's why the clutch rod feels funny. The push rod pin has come out a little bit. On this little pin, there's a groove, and there's a thing called an E-clip, kind of like a yeet clip. They just go flying when you take them off. Real hard for you to see. It's in the shape of a lowercase e, or I guess kind of a mix. It's like a rounded uppercase E. Comment below if you know why the alphabetical letters are lowercase and uppercase. Comment below. Spoiler alert, I'll say it after I get this installed because it's super funny actually. It is bent to where I can't get that in there. Look at that. E-clip came out. Stud was in there sideways. Bent my push rod. What my initial plan was I was going to adjust this push rod to take that dead spot out, but that dead spot's probably mostly just in the fact that that pin is loose. Oh, I need to pinch them closer together. Otherwise I'm never going to get that E-clip on there. This side's kind of cocked. I just had that thing. There it is. It's like, holy cow, I just lost it. I have to go look back at the footage to find it. All right, so there we go. Now I should be able to get the E-clip in there. I'll have to pinch that in with a channel locks or something so it doesn't come out. There's actually a little knurled edge on here that keeps this from, you know, probably saving my day not being stuck somewhere without a clutch. Man, whoever wired this did a really good job. It's really clean and it's holding up. All right. Now that that's on there, there's still a little bit of play. So y'all can see, still have a little bit of play right here before it starts to engage. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that play out. Once you get that loose, you can most likely turn the rod by hand, but it does have a 10 mil spot on it. There we go. That's way better. All right, brake pedal. Same thing, but that's a 14 mil to adjust it. Love that. All right. Nailed it. All right, now for the gas pedal. I should be able to, oh yeah, I can adjust the stopper so that the pedal sits properly at rest. And then there's also like a full throttle stopper as well. We're not gonna touch that one. We need all the throttle we can get, of course. And of course it's a 10 mil and I gotta get up. Oh yeah, there we go. It's closer than I thought. That would be fun. There we go. Still got slack on the cable too. That's what we want to see. Nice. Okay. Wham! Wham! Still got full throttle. This thing's ready to rock now. I'm not gonna know how to drive anymore. All my pedals are gonna be all different. Okay, pedals adjusted. Now that it's nice and cool, I'm ready to go. Change this wastegate springs. So I'm gonna be an expert at taking my wastegate off, let me tell you. But now that I'm putting stiffer springs in, it's gonna be harder to push this dang thing on. Cars with nice paint. We need a rag. Can't set anything on nice paint around here. Now we'll walk this thing off slowly instead of having it smash into the brake line like I did the last time. Just had a lot more spring tension in there, or I guess spring compression in there than I anticipated. All right, this is a super chill, rudimentary way that I want to see. This was the spring that was in it earlier, right? This light blue one is thicker. It's like for the whole tile V44 versus these are for like the MV, the fancier, the newer tile wastegate, right? So we're going to use this battery, which we know its weight, not that it matters. I'm not trying to calculate the spring tension here. I just want to know if my combined springs over here is stiffer than the one that was in it. By how much? Who knows? Just stiffer. So I'm going to set this on here, and it should give me some sort of a compression height, right? And then I'll set it on this one, and that's about the same between these two. So I think I actually need to add more to this right here. So we may do the black, the blue, and the green. I don't think I'm going to get down to that green spring though, because the battery doesn't push the first two springs down. Okay, interesting. We need something heavier. How about this? Is way heavier than that. Come on. The big battery. Okay. The big battery now. How far down does this push it? So that gets me about the same. So we can guess, kinda, that blue plus black is going to give me 7 pounds of gate pressure. Plus that little green spring should give me a little more. Oh, why don't we just do that? So we know that this spring is the equivalent of these two springs combined, and this spring fits inside of this one. So let's just do these two springs combined. How far does that compress? Not very far, okay. Approximately the green spring plus a 1/2 inch. And if we go black and blue, that goes down to the green spring. So therefore, that should be stiffer. This right here should be stiffer. We're doing that. This fancy strut brace is right in the way too. I can get it down, but then I can't. I need like my tongue to turn the dang bolt. I guess I could just take the wastegate off, put the springs in it, and put it back on. That's probably the easiest thing to do here. All right, look at that. Wastegate off. Fire me up. Now we can change the spring so easily, even though it's supposed to be easy to do down there. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Honestly, I should just clamp this in my vise, but I don't think my vise goes big enough. This isn't even a lot of boost. Why am I struggling? If I could just hold it right there and then have somebody put the screw in, we'd be done.
I struggled and struggled and struggled and struggled to try to get this wastegate back together. I could not do it. I just am not heavy enough, I'm not strong enough, and I cannot push the wastegate down. So, while I am struggling through this, let me tell you about uppercase and lowercase letters because I forgot to tell you about it in the moment. The reason that uppercase and lowercase letters are called that is when they were using a printing press, the upper case where they would store the letters was all the capital letters, and the lower case where they would store all the letters was the lowercase or the small letters. So that is how you now have uppercase and lowercase letters. We can thank the guy who invented the rack for the original printing press. Now let's go press my wastegate back together because I should have done this from the very beginning, but I had to learn that.
We're in a bad spot, guys. This is spring loaded. I'm stuck. It's gonna go flying. Ugh. This wastegate is defeating me, and everyone's laughing because it should be easy, but it's not easy. There's so much tension on this. Rip the threads out of the aluminum body. Okay, let's think. Engineering, how do I press this down? I have a press. Could I put it in my press and just push it down? Yes, why don't we just do that? That's probably the easiest, right? It was that easy. There is always a way to get stuff done. Always a way. Just gotta think critically with the pieces you have and then make it work. Just like this. Look at that. There was no need for any of that struggle. Hopefully whichever hole has the threads I ripped out, the bolt will just tighten right through it. Since the threads got ripped out, there should be remaining threads down in there, right? Oh, this is probably it. But if I can tighten through it with the short end of an Allen key, I think we're good. Probably just here in a few minutes after I test drive this and it doesn't make enough boost, we take the gate off, just like this. I'll reposition the bolts so it's easy to remove the little V-band things. And then we'll put it in the press to even take it off. We'll just press it down like this, take all the screws out, release it slowly, and then we're off to the races. All in the name of product development and more power. Please don't explode. Logs are pulled, wastegate's back on. We're ready to go see how much jam this thing makes now with more wastegate springs after a huge long struggle up in there. Think it starts no gas pedal. Stay running, stay running. Stay running. Not bad. Just needs a little heat in it, you know? Alright guys, test drive number 2. Updated springs. We're targeting 11 PSI of boost. A little second gear rip. Mad success first test drive with the boost cranked up, and we're making the boost we want to make, which is 10 pounds of boost on the gate. I tickled the gate with some boost controller action. and we made 12 pounds. Now, I didn't turn it all the way up. The nice thing about this Fuel Tech ECU is I can change the boost controller settings just right on the screen. I can just beep, 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 turn it up. So my like full tilt tune, because we're out of fuel, I didn't really want to like push it that hard, you know, for the sake of fuel slosh, lean spike, detonation, explode my engine 3 weeks before deals gap. That just doesn't sound like, that sounds a lot like what would normally happen around here, but we're playing it safe today. We need this thing to be ripping for the tail. So next order of bee's knees for the RX7 is I got to adjust my steering wheel straight, which I placed it in that location, and you guys know how to adjust the steering wheel. You take the nut off, I'm going to turn it, I'm going to put it back on. It's like 4 screws, super easy. Going to make that change. The pedal change feels amazing. Distracted. The next steps, I need to drop the fuel tank, and we're going to be modifying the bottom of the fuel tank for some sort of a baffle slash bowl slash sump. Basically, I need my like Holley hydromat thing. With my 525 pump, it just sucks it dry, and I fuel slosh real bad. And I'm curious, I'm probably only at about 1/3 of a tank because I have some fuel gauge. We're going to do a lot of fuel science in the next video on the RX7, basically. So I cannot wait to see you guys at Deals Gap. Don't forget to comment below. Splitter brackets, radiator support, battery box, first gen stuff that I have on my car that you guys think is cool and you guys would potentially want to run on your car. I know there's not a lot of stuff out there for these, so if you do have crazy ideas too, drop them in the comments. And, you know, if something comes up and does pretty well, maybe I can send you all some t-shirts and stuff if you come up with a good idea that does pretty well. So I'd be excited to start with the things I've got. As I mentioned, the website for the merch, for all that stuff is going to live for the Patreon members first. Hopefully, if there's leftover stuff, I will let you guys know on here when merch, parts, the whole deal is like ready to go, okay? So it might be tomorrow, it might be 2 weeks from now, depends on when you guys watch the video. So pay attention to the videos or go check out the Patreon. You can be a member of Patreon for free. You don't even have to do the whole paid subscription part. If you do the paid subscription part, I super appreciate the guys that do. They've been making all this stuff possible. You get access to not only seeing what's going on, the merch and the website stuff when it drops right away, first dibs, and also you can ask me questions. So there's a thing on there called Rad Solutions. If you're building an engine yourself, you want to talk about porting, wiring, any sort of RX8, RX7 question, comment on there. There's a great group of guys in the general. It's kind of like a big chat room in there. Hop in there and we'll get you guys sorted out. So go check out the Patreon. It'd be much appreciated. But with that, live a life you don't need a vacation from and keep it rad. I can tell you what, Letty, you're going to walk out of here like this is the most boring day ever. We got sunshine and the RX7 is flying. And we're coming for that black FD, which you guys will see in another video. The black right-hand drive is all done, making like 400 and some change horsepower. We're probably still making that 350 number if we're only hitting 14 PSI. That's what we did on the dyno. And maybe we'll build an aftermarket fancy subframe for these too. Comment below. Peace, guys. I guess was I supposed to... The second ending I normally walk around, right? Second ending. The third ending. The I end the video whenever I want ending. There's an FC in here. And there's parts from the FC that are going to go into my RX8. Look at that. It's been on the channel before, so y'all know what's up. Peace, guys.